What's up, everybody? Welcome to the podcast now. I'm Alex, and in this video, we have another set of Spider-Man No Way Home leaks. Now, like all of these, this should always be taken with a grain of salt. One thing I do want to say early on, though, is I've noticed a pattern, and when you cover leaks and you cover rumors the way that I do, you start to see literally things repeating, and that could mean I would say that can mean two things. Number one, it can mean that they're onto something, basically, right? People are kind of echoing the same statements. Or number two, they're piggybacking off of things that have already been said that people kind of believe could happen, stuff like that, and they're just using that to run with their own thing. So this leak is, I would say that it is very familiar. Certain things that are in this leak we've heard other people, whether it be like actual insiders that we know we can trust or other people, we've heard things before. At the same time, there's also some new stuff that kind of is interesting. So take everything with a grain of salt, obviously, right? But we're going to read over these leaks. I'm going to just read them straight through, and then we'll talk about, our opinions of them. But before I get, too far in, I'll leave you guys hanging just for a second. Make sure you guys are subscribed. Make sure you guys have the bell icon turned on so you know when I make all these videos. If there's ever, obviously, anything else on Spider-Man, I'm sure to cover it. Hit the like button. And also, if you're looking for additional ways to help the channel, I don't know if you actually are, but if you are, we do have a Patreon, and we do have memberships. They're the exact same thing, just two different places that you could support us. You get exclusive, perks for doing it. Patreon, the link's in the description, and obviously the join button is right next to the subscribe button. Obviously, would love to have you, and hopefully you check that stuff out. And let's just jump right in. Peter's on the run after his identity reveal in Far From Home. Ned and MJ are with him since they're accomplices to his crimes, quote unquote. Doctor Strange, at Happy's request, finds them in a homeless shelter undercover where he brings them back to the Sanctum and tells them to lay low while he figures out a way to fix everything. In the Sanctum, Peter comes across a sort of bigger on-the-island prison where Green Goblin, Doc Ock, and Sandman, the Raimi-verse one, and the Lizard and Electro from the Amazing Spider-Man universe are being held. Willem Dafoe, manages to trick Peter into thinking that their universe's Spider-Man were corrupted and killed them, and Peter needs to free them so they can save their planets. Peter frees them, and they escape into the city. Strange shows up and tears Peter a new one, explains that he had been holding them in his prison due to instability in the multiverse connected to each dimension's Oscorp experimenting with their interdimensional travel, and says Peter has a responsibility to stop them. Dafoe leads the villains to the MCU Oscorp building to steal prototype interdimensional technology. Peter tries to stop them, but he gets his ass kicked and thrown aside. Strange rescues him and says they'll need more help and Strange and Peter travel to the Raimi-verse and the Amazing Spider-Man universe, and we see how the Peters are living after the conclusion of their series. Toby is married to MJ, and they have a daughter. Andrew is a college professor. Through their connection to their home universes, the villains sense that their Spider-Man are likely on their way. They use the Oscorp device to open a one-way portal into the Amazing Spider-Man verse, and the Amazing Spider-Man Rhino barges through. The Sinister Six are Goblin, Ock, Sandman, the Lizard, Electro, and Rhino. Dafoe's Osborn realizes the way to open two-way portals and thus get back to their own universes is to power the Osborn device with a Stark power core. Dafoe gets it. The other six distract the Spider-Men. The Sinister Six minus Osborn and Spider-Man fight at the Statue of Liberty, which Dafoe Osborn plans on using to open portals back to their worlds and to trap the Spider-Man here. Toby's beaten way harder than the younger Spideys and ends up dying after the battle. Goblin finally shows up with a device, and the device is activated, but they manage to stop him and protect Ned in a 2v1 fight with him, but he manages to miss them with a pumpkin bomb and kills Ned. Tom Spider-Man nearly kills Green Goblin, but Andrew stops him from becoming a villain like them. The Sinister Six get locked back up in Strange's prison. Tom and Andrew attend Toby's funeral in the Raimi-verse and seemingly part ways. Tom turns himself in and is successfully defended from murder charges by Matt Murdock, but his secret identity isn't resolved. Tom shows up to Ned's grave and talks about how he feels responsible for his death when Andrew shows back up and gives him the responsibility talk. Tom realizes Ned, like Uncle Ben, Tony, and Toby Peter, would want him to still be a hero. Final swing is both Tom and Andrew in the streets of the MCU's New York. End scene. Okay. Now, I mean, look, you take that for however you want. I will flat out tell you. Okay. I actually don't mind what I just read, almost at all. Now, is Tom Holland's Peter Parker maybe the stupidest character in the history of the world? Yes. So you see Doctor Strange, who you trust and know, and if it fought alongside, okay, all of that good stuff. and you see probably villains, like they probably look in some way like villains, and they convince you that Spider-Man in their universe, which Tom Holland is Spider-Man, so they trick him into thinking that their Spider-Man are actually evil and they murdered them, and that they need help to get out of a prison cell that Doctor Strange had. So, like, do you see how that immediately kind of falls apart? Besides that, though, here's a couple of things, okay? A lot of stuff is kind of echoed. So we've heard before Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man's going to die. That's kind of what I was hinting at in the beginning with, you're seeing reoccurring things. So Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man dies. That's what we saw. We've also heard about the Ned thing quite often, that he's going to die. Then we see that. There also, remember, was talk about fake-out deaths and that MJ could potentially be a fake-out death. Now, the last leak we read, I believe, talked about how Happy dies. That is just missing from here, so we'll have to see, which one ends up being true. But, like, again, Doctor Strange kind of coming in and out, being there to help, but not really being there to help, right? Because he has other things to deal with. I mean, look, he is in the movie. Like, we know that. He was on set. Like, you know what I mean? So, like, and look, certain things are for sure. I was actually venting about this to my wife yesterday in that, like, I get these are far-fetched, and it's very possible that none of these, end up happening. But for the people that don't think, Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire are in this movie, I truly can't believe, like, I know some people will say, well, Alex, you were just flat out setting yourself up for failure. Andrew Garfield literally said he's not in the movie. I mean, I don't know if you guys know this, but actors and actresses lie literally as their, like, I would say almost their main job. They lie consistently. And do you think Andrew Garfield's allowed to say, yeah, I'm in the movie? I don't know how the actor for Doc Ock was allowed to say what he said, because in a way he ruined the entire film. So let me ask you this. We know Jamie Foxx. Well, let's go backwards. So, like, Doc Ock is in the movie, but it's literally Doc Ock from Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 2. How in God's name are you going to bring him in to Tom Holland's Spider-Man movie without bringing Tobey Maguire in? Does that make... And why in God's green earth would you pick that villain to just come in without anybody else from that universe coming in? Why, in God's name, would Jamie Foxx be coming back to play Electro? Now, we don't know technically if it's, which version of Electro. There were those rumors that, he's just playing a new version. Well, again, the guy confirmed it's the Doc Ock from the Raimi verse. So, like, well, obviously, Electro is going to be the Electro from The Amazing. So why would you bring him in without bringing the Spider-Man in? So I think it is... like, it's not even a question to me that they're in this movie. The question is, what do you do with them? That's my response. I mean, people can say, no, they've said no enough times. Well, why the F are villains from their universe coming then? Okay, so I'd like you to, if you're one of those people or one of those people, just counter them with that, because I don't really know what you can say to that. So, like, yes, that is kind of hanging in the background. Now, I'm not saying, like, because of that, I'm expecting the greatest film that's ever been crafted. I really don't expect this film to be that. But again, these there's story beats. That's probably the best way, the best phrase of saying. There's story beats that seemingly have been told over and over and over again over the last, like, 4 or 5 months, and I'm like, you could say I'm starting to believe some of them. When you hear something enough times, I guess it's the normal thing for a mind to do, is, I guess, to fall into the trap. Maybe that's the wrong thing to do. I think as a society, we do that too much, right? We hear the same thing over and over, and we just suddenly believe it, even if there's no backing for it. So, that's something that I think we should maybe get away from. But, no, honestly, like, yes, there are some very stupid, the whole idea of these villains breaking free, if that really is what happens, that would just be, I mean, how do you like Tom Holland? Like, I love Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I actually do. Okay, that's just my personal opinion. But, I mean, if he does that, that would be the stupidest thing any character could ever do. And maybe that fits. But the rest of it, I mean, yeah, it sounds like actually they'd be in it a fair amount. See, that's the other thing. The people that have said that they're in the movie have said, like, don't expect them too much. And like, other things like Matt Murdock, obviously him being in the movie. Now, in this one, he's at it sounds like he's only at the end, right? Like, they go through this adventure, and then he fights for him in court, and it's almost like it's a cameo, whereas the other things we've heard is that he's in it a little bit more than a cameo. Doctor Strange is almost like a cameo because he kind of comes in and out. So, again, it's definitely a grain of salt kind of situation. I have no idea if this is actually true. I'd like to believe some parts of it. I'm starting to believe more parts of it, but, just, I guess, maybe to clarify, the whole are they in the film. I 100% believe they are. So let me know, guys, in the comments below, what do you think? Do you believe this leak? Have you believed the past leaks? What do you think about the whole situation? Let me know. As always, again, make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on so all these videos go up. Give this video a like. Again, Patreon, we have a link for that in the description. The join button, if you guys want to do that, would very much appreciate it. When the trailer for Spider-Man comes out, or any other news or leaks or rumors or all that stuff, I will be covering it on the channel. That's why the bell icon is so important. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope to see you all on the next video.